Okay, so hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to season 2, episode 2. I guess, I don't know, should I start a new season of the Fortnite Mythbusters? On the last episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters, you guys left a whole ton of awesome season 11 myths, which we will be testing out in today's video. So just like always, if you do have a myth you would like me to test in the next or future episodes of the Fortnite Mythbusters, make sure to go down in the comment section down below and drop a comment of that myth for a pretty good chance to be featured. Also guys, the support on this series has been unreal lately, so let's aim for 10,000 likes on today's video. That would be greatly appreciated. It really helps me out with all of the feedback. Also, if you are new to my channel and you would like to see more Mythbuster videos by me, feel free to subscribe and also turn on those post notifications to never miss another Fortnite Mythbusters episode. But without further ado, let's get right on into today's video. Going straight into the first myth is what happens when you get knocked while you are carrying your own knocked teammate. In season 11 or Fortnite chapter 2 season 1, there is a pretty cool feature where you could literally carry your teammates if they're knocked. So say you're in the middle of a fight and your teammate does get knocked, you are actually able to put them over your shoulder and literally carry them out of the fight into a safe place and pick them up, or you could just throw them if you like to go that way as well. Unfortunately though, if you are in a regular squads game or even a trio and you are picking up your teammate and actually running away from the fight, if you do get knocked yourself while you are carrying a teammate, it'll throw them off your shoulder. You'll both just fall literally right next to each other, and from there on, both of you will be crawling around and only one of you guys will be able to be carried away from the fight even then. So I guess if you ever are carrying a teammate and you're running away from a fight, you might want to be careful and make sure you have a safe path to run. Otherwise, you might screw over you and your teammates. Going into the next myth is, are you able to ride in a boat while you are knocked down? I'm sure all of you guys are aware, but in Fortnite Season 11, the only mobility is really the boat. So can you ride on top of the boat and drive away while you are still knocked down on the ground? When I tested this out, there's multiple ways you could do this, but I had my friend kill me, which was on the other team in a custom matchmaking code. I then had a platform with a boat ready to go underneath it. From there, when I was knocked, the platform was basically broken down and I landed directly on top of the boat, and surprisingly we were actually able to drive around for a little while. Unfortunately though, it is very laggy when you are riding on the boat. The player kind of teleports front and back, and you will eventually get pushed off the boat if you are very unlucky, as well as if the boat does any of the speed boost or the boost, whatever people are calling that will also push the character off immediately. So if you ever do have this situation in game, you might want to drive pretty safe and kind of slow if you do want to make any progress with the knocked player on the boat. Going into the next myth is, what happens when you are carrying your teammate and you have 3 balloons on your back? Will you float away, or will the weight of the player that you are carrying allow you to not float away? When I tried this out, it was actually kind of difficult to do because you had to equip all 3 balloons, otherwise you would not float away and pick up your teammate extremely quick without detaching any of the balloons. But the attempts that I was actually able to do this, you surprisingly are literally able to pick up your teammate, float up into the sky, and you could just chuck them off and send them straight to their death. Overall, this was actually a really fun and super cool myth to do. I mean, I remember way back in season 5, season 6, balloons were in the game. There was such a good mobility, and if they ever do get added back in, you could have a lot of fun with this, but you just gotta be careful to not let them pop while you're in the air. Going into the next myth, and another vaulted item myth. This myth is, what happens when you use a shadow bomb while swimming in the water? With no doubt in my mind, the balloons as well as the shadow bomb, they have a very good chance to be brought back, since they are a good way of mobility without actually being vehicles. When I tried this out in game, I did a glitch to get back to the spawn island. I then spawned in some of these shadow bombs and went in the water, and at first they just behaved the exact same way until I found a glitch that allowed the shadow bomb to literally last forever. I mean, it wouldn't even go away, and I wasn't even moving. I was just sitting in the water completely invisible. All you could do is really hear the noise from the shadow bomb effect. Occasionally as well, when you do your little dolphin dive out of the water and back in, you could possibly get a second jump in between of that, and you could bounce up pretty high and make some solid distance within seconds, making this a pretty overpowered way to travel. Going into the next myth is, can you swim back to the spawn island while in a regular battle royale game? Now, way back on the first map, I mean literally not too long ago, like a week ago, there were tons and tons of videos about people rocket riding back to the main island, people running back to the main island to see if you could get back there, but there was always a barrier and always an ocean and for when you make contact with, you would die immediately. So now that you are able to swim on the water surrounding the map, are you able to make the swim all the way back to the spawn island where you are before the battle bus does leave? When I tried this out in game, I started off first just gliding back to the main island to see if it was at least possible in any way, but the invisible barrier is still there, unfortunately. From there, I actually waited for my player to finally reach the ocean, since it unfortunately would not allow me to redeploy my glider for some reason. And when I was swimming in the water, you would think maybe you could somehow dive beneath the barrier or something, but the barrier is still there, similar to like what we tested in the last Mythbusters episode, where you end up hitting the barrier on the edge of the map either way. This is pretty unfortunate. I mean, it would be pretty cool because I think in like PUBG and other games, you are actually able to go back to the spawn island and loot it up, and then if you're lucky enough, get back to the main island, but I really don't know why they blocked it off. It really doesn't make any sense either way. Going into the next myth is, will a trap still affect you while you're inside of a boat? Now, this is actually a very good myth, but something that is not really ever going to happen to you in a regular game, but I guess it is still good to know for, I guess, if you're ever in a boat and you zoom straight through a build fight literally right above the water. When you are in a boat and you do see a spike trap, you might want to stay away from it if it is not friendly, because it will actually deal damage to you and even your boat. And if your boat does take enough damage even from the spike trap, it'll eventually explode and even kill you almost instantly. Also, the spike trap will do the similar 150 damage to you and the boat at the exact same time if you are within the radius of the spike trap. Like I said before though, it's highly unlikely that there's ever going to be a spike trap literally on the edge of the water. Plus, why would you drive a boat straight into a spike trap? It wouldn't make sense either way. Going into the next myth is, can you revive your teammate while they are being carried from your other teammate? Now, to be honest, in a regular game, I really don't see the point of this myth, because if you already have one teammate carrying your other teammate, they would obviously just set you down and pick you up, but I decided to test this out since it got a whole ton of support on the last Mythbusters video. Unfortunately, from what I test, if you are carrying your knocked teammate, your other teammate who is not knocked is not able to carry them. I really don't see the point to this again, like I said before, but overall could be something good to know for, I guess, if you ever get somehow stuck in this situation. I really don't know. Going into the next myth, and actually a really good myth, this myth is, will a spike trap kill a player who is being carried when they are not? So when I tried this myth out in game, I kind of went with the same idea that, say you're boxed in a 1x1 and a player places a trap on the far left wall. You already know if you go to the far right wall, there is that tiny little gap between the end of the spike and the wall, which basically allows you to be alive. So when I try this out in game, of course, with your teammate or even the enemy over your shoulder, the legs hang off a little bit, so the legs should technically be hit by the trap before you do if you are just right on the edge of it. When I did try this myth out in game though, I had my second account on my phone who was on the opposite team place down the spike trap. I then had my teammate get knocked by my second account, and I was carrying my teammate over my shoulder. The legs were hanging off pretty far, and the spike trap, it still did all of the damage to me, killing both of us instantly. Since it does do 150 damage, technically it shouldn't have done any damage to me, because the spike trap, the spikes themselves did not hit my player. They actually hit my teammate's legs. Jumping straight into the next myth, and the myth that a lot of you guys clicked on the video for, this myth is, can you rocket ride the boat's missiles? Now, from a regular RPG, what allows you to rocket ride a regular rocket is that the rocket, they have their own hitbox. So the main thing we need to figure out is if the boat's missiles, they have their own hitbox as well. And after trying this so many times, it makes me believe that they don't even have a hitbox. They're just kind of like a projectile. The outcome to the boat's missiles rocket riding, it was exactly the same as the Brew. I mean, the missiles literally look the exact same as well. They're the exact same size, and they behave the exact same way when they are shot at in the air. They don't go in a directly straight line. They will basically home in on a player, which makes it impossible for you to rocket ride either way. I tested this multiple times with standing on the rockets, and the rockets literally go directly through my player's feet, enough for the hitbox to actually hit my player, but every time, unfortunately, you are not able to rocket ride the boat's missiles. Anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you are new to the channel. Make sure to turn on those post notifications, and also comment a myth down below if you would like your myth to have a chance to be featured in the next or future Mythbuster episodes. Also, if you are not already, I'm getting extremely active on my Twitter as well as Instagram, so make sure to go drop me a follow on there, and I will see you guys next time.